Yeah,
Sound?
yeah.
Get me sound. PRELUDE.
Good morning. Welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church, a liberal faith tradition in Braintree, Massachusetts since 1833. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all persons as we engage in an ongoing search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you inhabit your body, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcomed into the life of this beloved community. My name is Joe Maloney, and I serve on the Board of Trustees and the Sunday Service and Music Committee. And it is my pleasure to be your service associate this morning. If you're visiting us for the first time or would like us to reach out to you, please click on the link provided in the chat to submit a connection card. We'll be happy to follow up with you. Everyone will remain muted during the service unless you wish to participate in the sharing of joys and concerns, at which time you may raise your hand and unmute your mic when we call you by name. Our services are recorded, except for our shared joys and concerns, and posted on our YouTube channel weekly. After the service, everyone is invited to stay online to attend our virtual coffee hour. Our guest minister today is Reverend Molly Brewer, whose pronouns are Faye and Fair. Faye currently serves as Youth Ministry Coordinator at the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York. Reverend Brewer's ministry has also included facilitation for the Unitarian Universalist Association's Leader Lab, group facilitation for the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and educational programs offered to the UUA staff, the UU Ministers Association, and to the 2021 General Assembly of Unitarian Universalists. A lifelong New Englander, Reverend Molly currently lives in New Hampshire with her spouse Alan and 3 cats, Husker, Widgie, and Boris. Welcome, Reverend Molly Brewer. Our chalice words this morning are by Yandle. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope in the moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown. We light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength as a prophetic and powerful people is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. Now for our earth candle, we light this green candle to affirm our commitment to caring for the planet that is our home. Please join me in reading our covenant as the words appear on your screen. We covenant to create a caring, affirming, and inclusive community that invites us to become our best selves.
Good morning to all of you. It is such a joy to be with you on this day. As we settle into our space and come together and gather, I want to share with you these opening words from H.P. Rivers, who is a Unitarian Universalist religious educator who uses they, them pronouns. They write, "Blessed are the wanderers seeking affirmation. Blessed are the worshipers praying from closets, pulpits, pews, and hardship. Blessed are the lovers of leaving family and familiarity, leaving tables where love is not being served. Blessed are those who stay. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the queer disciples of truth, living, breathing, sacred reflections of divine love." I invite you now to sing with us in the comfort of your home or wherever it is that you are. Number 1029, "Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear."
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life within.
Each week, we take time to share our important joys and concerns so all of us might help carry the burden and join in the celebration. If you wish to share an important joy or sorrow from your heart, I invite you to raise your hand and unmute your mic when we call you by name. Or you may enter your joy or concern in the chat and we will read it aloud for you. I invite anyone who would like to share. Can we please drop one final stone for all those joys or concerns that have been mentioned or have been left unspoken?
I invite you now to join me in the spirit of meditation, or, if you wish, the spirit of prayer. I invite you to feel the room around you, or the space where you are, if you're outdoors. Wherever you are, know that you are welcome. You are welcome on this earth as a blessing. Underneath your seat or your feet, perhaps under your arms, feel the pull of gravity holding you to earth. You might feel a cushy couch or a bed, a floor beneath you, a harder seat. Whatever you're feeling, become aware of it and let it pass through your awareness and move through you. Know that you are held firmly in the embrace of the earth that has borne us all, that carries us all, and that nurtures us all. As we are together in this community of living, breathing souls, all tied together by our connection to each other across many miles, across virtual connection, and sometimes even in person when we can see each other. Let us be held by the strength of that connection to our community. Spirit of life and spirit of love that dwells within the heart of each of us, may you awaken. Awaken us to your presence within us and between us. Awaken us to the compassionate heart that blooms amidst adversity. Let us name the importance of life transitions, passages, retirements, illnesses, deaths, births, the announcements of life, the unfolding of the cycle that goes on, enveloping us all. For all of those that we have spoken aloud, for all that remains unspoken in our hearts, we give thanks and we hold these truths gently. In this week, when we have seen so much sorrow on the national stage, we have been attuned to the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, who incited violence in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We hold the families of his two victims, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. We hold the sorrow of those families that they have witnessed the injustice of the killer of their children being allowed to walk free. We hold the sadness of the truth that the legal system in our country does not value Black lives, does not value them enough to speak out, to do justice against those who would threaten them. On top of all of this sadness, we also hold the realities of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, a vigil held on November 20th when the names of our trans siblings who have been lost to transphobia over the past year are read aloud. For those 357 names, those lives, those precious jewels, we weep. We hold them in light and in love. For the 47 names of trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and gender diverse lives that have been lost in the US alone, we hold such sadness for what could have been, what might have been. With all of the depth of sorrow that we see around us, let us also attune to that which is joyful, that which sustains us through the sorrow and helps us arise to meet each day, ready to do the work of justice anew. For all of these sorrows, all of these joys are intertwined deeply. If we do not have the sorrow, we cannot feel the rapture of joy. And if we do not understand joy, we cannot feel the sorrow. Let us stretch ourselves wide to hold each of these opposing truths, to hold all of this complexity that comes with being alive in these precarious, difficult times. For all of us who come to this community looking for help, for sustenance, for support, let us attune to each other and the steady presence of one another that keeps us rooted here and now. For all of these experiences, all of these blessings, and all of these sorrows, we give thanks and ask mercy. We hold these things gently, knowing that it is our community that helps pull us through them. I invite you now to come back into your body, to feel assured that gravity, the earth, is holding you, that we are holding each other in this space, in this web of infinite connection. And that as long as we are together, that connection is never lost. Amen. Blessed be. Our reading today comes from the Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf, who is a genderqueer UU minister who uses the pronouns G and Jer. O infinite love, help me face this day. My heart weeps with fear of violence, of invisibility, of hatred. Open me to beauty and wholeness, to love and laughter. I am enough. We are enough. I live in the sacred in between. I embody the connectivity and allness of the infinite. May I remember that I am inherently sacred by my existence. The earth is filled with magnificent diversity, of which I am a small piece. May I remember I am a part of the spectacular beauty of a diverse world dependent on that diversity, my existence, for its survival. When I feel lost, may I hold to the earth and to community. When I feel invisible, may I have the strength to shout joyous gratitude from the rooftops for all who have seen me. When violence is before me, I ask for grace through the next moment. When I feel connected, may I share my love with those around me. When I feel seen, may I see others in need. When I am secure, may I rise up for the security of others. O infinite love, I sit within you and shine you out to the world that we may know grace even when we do not live up to our most grounded values. We are life and we are lives worth living, and my life is valuable as all lives are valuable. O infinite love, thank you for the gift of the transcendent both, all, and infinite, liminal, glue connectivity. May I rest in that transcendent space today and for all the days to come. Aho, Amin, Ashe.
Now for our offertory. Each week, we have an opportunity to give thanks for the blessings we have received in our lives and in the life of our church community. Our offering is a chance to give back in support of the work and outreach of our church. To submit your offering electronically, you may follow the link in the chat, or you may send it by mail to All Souls Church at 196 Elm Street in Braintree. At this time, our offering will be given and received.
Thank you so much to Jacob for that beautiful piece of music, which instantly transported me back to when I was a student learning music. I used to play viola. And this is a good segue into the beginning of my sermon, where I talk about myself as a teenager. And when I was a teenager, there were some things that I wanted nothing more than to have absolutely no obvious gender whatsoever. I loved, and I still love, wearing skirts and dresses, but I chose to wear a tuxedo to my senior prom, and it felt like more than cross-dressing for play. Surely, I imagined everybody must feel that dressing in the clothes that were marked with another gender feels like expressing an earnest self that was fluid and shifting, being simultaneously feminine and masculine and something else entirely. And to have that feeling sort of shift with winds or the season or the sunlight or the aesthetic. And certainly I assumed other people must think about this a lot, just like I did. I imagined that everyone else must have the same semi-constant background hum in their own heads, constantly making them wonder about gender. What is it? What does it feel like? And in the early 2000s, when I graduated high school, it was really unusual to openly identify as non-binary. So it never presented itself to me as a possible option. And so, in spite of all of the signs that we would probably be apt to notice now in a young person, it didn't even cross my mind until almost 2 decades later that I might not actually be cisgender, which is to say, I might not be congruent with the gender that I was assigned when I was born. My family supported same-sex marriage and the advancement of civil rights for gay people, but the assumption of being cisgender was so deeply ingrained in my community and society and context that I didn't have the right lens to recognize myself as being non-binary. I didn't have the right eyes, if you will, to recognize the obvious queerness that was looking at me every time I looked in the mirror. And the limited true life stories I knew about being trans were almost always fraught and tragic and short. The experience of being transgender was framed as kind of a lifelong sense that there was something wrong. The archetypal person who might say, I knew I wasn't the gender I was being raised, but the other one, of course, that one other gender, which I laugh at now, because the more we come to understand about gender, the more we recognize that there are not only two. There are so many, and so many in between. It is a spectrum, not a continuum. The prevailing story that I knew of transitioning, the act of medically or socially living as a different gender, was even scarier in some ways. Living as a gender outside of what you were assigned was, I learned growing up, a sure way to be harassed or even killed. And this story that transness sets a life apart for tragedy and pain is still with us. It does, in some ways, reflect one hard reality. Each year on November 20th, the trans, genderqueer, and non-binary community honors the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is what our service today is commemorating. This annual day is a commemorating and collective mourning for those lives lost over the last year due to violence and stigma. And this includes people who have died not only by violence done to them by others, but deaths by suicide as well. This day, which has been marked for the last 13 years, serves as an outlet for grief for queer community. The vigils for Transgender Day of Remembrance can last hours as a litany of names is read so that we do not forget these particular people, these particular lives that have been lost to the rich fabric of humanity. But also, this day prompts us to ask, what are we and our straight and cis communities doing the rest of the year to ensure that trans and gender diverse lives are uplifted and celebrated and seen as more than a tragedy waiting to happen. Because the fact is, other realities are possible. In 2015, Black trans artist B. Parker created a work of art in collaboration with a youth organization called Breakout. And I am going to show you an image of that. One moment. Oh, I do not seem to be able to share my screen. I believe Alicia is doing some behind the scenes work.
One second, Reverend Molly. I'm not sure why. You are a co-host, so hold on.
Thank you. Sometimes Zoom is strange occasionally. Thank you for bearing with me. So I'm going to describe the piece of artwork before I show it to you. This piece of art was emblazoned with the hashtag Black Trans Lives Matter, and it features the prominent words, "Give us our roses while we're still here." I am going to try and share with you now because it looks like it may work. This is the piece of artwork by B. Parker. In it, you can see a number of Black faces and faces of people of color facing each other and looking sorrowful, reaching out for each other, a skyline of roses, butterflies in the colors of the trans pride flag, and an activist speaking through a megaphone at the bottom of the image. And the banner behind them says, "Give us our roses while we're still here." When asked to elaborate on what this phrase means to the movement for trans lives, B. Parker, the artist, said, "To celebrate my life while I am living it." Roses can be a symbol of friendship, love, and acknowledgement of achievement, but are often associated with mourning the loss of someone close to us. Reframing the giving of roses in relation to trans lives immediately lets people know that we want to be cherished and honored while we walk the earth. Transgender and non-binary Unitarian Universalists often find ourselves in uncomfortable situations in congregational life. For every one friend in a church community who rejoices with us when we claim pronouns that differ from the ones that they first knew us by, there are several more who might muse aloud, seemingly without any sense of who's in the room, about how hard it is, how counterintuitive or unnatural it is to make that small adaptation. And we get it. We get that our outward identities shifting can be a challenge for those around us. But the act of giving us our roses, of celebrating us while we are here with you and contributing our unique gifts and wisdom to the community requires far more than gestures toward inclusion or grumbling as we shift pronouns and learn how to shift them ourselves. Remembrance after we're gone, whether from this community for lack of care or from this earth altogether, is not enough. Remembrance is fine for what it is, but it is not enough. We must be recognized for the beauty of our lives and our contributions while we are here living and offering them. It is not an accident that the words of every person that I have shared in this service and that Joe has shared have been the words of non-binary, genderqueer, or trans UUs. For many of us, the least interesting thing about us is our gender. And we seek to be recognized for the contributions that we bring, both through that experience and simply by dint of being human, like everyone. My colleague, the Reverend Chris Rothbauer, a non-binary UU minister, writes, "I don't want a faith that cares more about what conservative neighbors who would never join us anyway think, more than caring about affirming my humanity. who understand that throwing your lot in with marginalized people requires more than talking about your friendship with the lesbian couple down the street. I don't want a faith that wordsmiths my truth, that asks why it's necessary to use the words that best describe my experience as a queer person. I don't need help finding alternative words that might go over better with strangers. I need my siblings in faith to notice their discomfort in hearing about my experiences and use it as a catalyst to action rather than as a way to cement their own comfort. I want a faith that doesn't consider me as a queer minister, but rather does its damnedest to live up to our professed values. I want a faith that centers my voice and others like me when necessary, that doesn't think that decades of marginalization can be erased with a few good deeds. I don't want a faith that claims to be universalist, but constantly judges some of us for the sin of not conforming to ideas of who we should be. Instead, I want to build this faith. I'll do it with my own two hands if I have to. If I pick up some friends along the way, maybe we just might be able to build something spectacular together. If we are to do the work that Reverend Rothbauer describes, it means we must continue doing the same thing our UUs of color have asked when they drafted the 8th principle, dismantling hierarchical thinking in the world and also in ourselves. It means letting go of the assumptions that we have about how trans people are or who we should be, how we should present to the world. It means believing us when we say that something hurts us and then changing our behavior and making amends. It means seeing trans, genderqueer, and non-binary people as authentic expressions of human diversity, whole humans with gifts and flaws, not tragic figures or curiosities or a gimmick to draw in new people. In fact, as the lines of what we think we know about gender continue to shift and fade in and out of focus, our faith is going to see more and more young people growing up to claim what gender means for themselves. And this is going to look more and more singular from person to person. Increasingly, it is going to look unlike gender expressions that we already know and understand. It will mean more unfamiliar pronouns, like the ones that I use or that the Reverend Sunshine Wolf uses. It will mean some people coalescing around third gender pronouns that we already know and use, like they. It will mean clothing, hairstyles, facial hair that don't fit neatly into anything we understand as male, female, or even androgynous presentation. Having a vision of a faith that survives into the future also means having a place for those emerging young people, and also for our adults and elders who are seeking freedom in their own gender and presentation or outside of gender altogether. Because really, as I have spoken about, the revelation of being trans, of being non-binary or genderqueer can come at any time. We must have space not only for those we've always understood and known as trans or non-binary, but for those who are in the flow of creating and defining ourselves in these terms, maybe for the first time in a long life. This is what we Unitarian Universalists are being called to do when trans and non-binary people ask, please give us our roses while we're still here. UU at its best has a spiritual attunement to the new and emergent, to opening doors wide and defining not only who, but how we want to be in this world. Among all the things our principles call us to do, a covenant of radical welcome looms large among them. An ongoing practice of radical welcome means listening, learning, and growing ourselves to make space for the multitude of complexity that is the human experience, or what Reverend Sunshine Wolf, who is the author of our earlier reading, calls the transcendent, both, all, and infinite liminal glue connectivity. Being trans, non-binary, or genderqueer, as much as the tragic stories of those lives lost to transphobia are told, repeated, and shared, is not inherently a sad life, a lost life. There is nothing inherent in us that cuts our lives short or prescribes a tragic end. Our lives are beloved and joyful in spite of a world that often treats us poorly or doesn't understand us. Our lives are brilliant, beautiful, precious, wise. If this was the story of transness I learned as I grew up, I might have claimed the fullness of my own genderqueer identity much earlier. If I had known that to be trans was a process of constant joyful creation and recreation and recreation and play, if I had been assured that a community existed where these truths about myself would be affirmed and not questioned, if I had known that transness was not only worth something in the remembrance, but the recognition as well. Unitarian Universalism in some spaces is slowly becoming that wide open, inclusive, exciting community. But we are not there yet. As long as we save our roses and a place among us for those who have already left us, we cannot get there. But I believe we have among us roses enough to give to those who are with us now. And I believe those roses will one day open, as will we, wide enough to encompass and embrace the wholeness of being. May we turn our ears gladly toward these prophetic voices that speak to us of what it is to evolve, to change, to bloom, and to open. May it ever be so. I invite you now to raise your voices if you wish, or simply hum along to our closing hymn, number 351, A Long, Long Way the Sea Winds Blow.
Across the sea plains blue, but longer for my heart must go before its dreams come true. And work we must, and love we must, and to the past we may, and take the hope of dreams and trust to keep us day by day. A long, long way the sea winds blow, but somewhere lies a shore. Thus down the tide of time shall flow my dreams forevermore.
In closing, I will remind you all of the words of H.P. Rivers. Blessed are the wanderers seeking affirmation. Blessed are the worshipers praying from closets, pulpits, pews, and hardship. Blessed are the lovers of leaving family and familiarity, leaving tables where love is not being served. Blessed are those who stay. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. Disciples of truth, blessed are the queers, living, breathing, sacred reflections of divine love. In these opening roses of remembrance and recognition, in the blowing of the sea winds that show us the way that we go forth May we go out into the world carrying these words with us, carrying these affirmations and the blessings and hopes of our community. Amen. Blessed be, and peace be with you.
We give special thanks to our participants this morning. Mary and Kelly for our virtual usher, Alicia for a Zoom host, Jacob, our music director, also Dawn, our Sunday Service and Music Committee chairperson, for his wonderful flute music. For our guest minister, Reverend Molly Brewer. And also would like to say thank you to Reverend Bo, who stepped in to assist with the order of service. And to you, our viewers. Now for announcements. Our upcoming events include tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, we will have an open conversation as part of our Connection Circle. This coming Friday at 10 o'clock, our second Connection Circle will take place, and the topic this week will be jazz variations on a theme. Also, this coming Friday, submissions are due for next month's newsletter, and you may submit them to Maggie. On December 6th, Monday at 6:30, the Sunday Service and Music Committee will be meeting. The book discussion group will be meeting at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, December 7th. And Mary would like to say something regarding the Dickens Festival.
Thank you, Joe. I just wanted to say that the Dickens Festival website is up and running. Be sure to get there and take a look at it. Maggie's done a fantastic job putting everything together. And tell the people that you're seeing at Thanksgiving to go to the website and buy some raffle tickets or holiday greens. And just to say the baked goods, there will be no delivery, no like ordering for market today for this week, for the next weekend. So the next time you can order will begin on November 28th. And the ordering closes on that Thursday. And Alicia, if you'd show the next slide for us, please. That's this is the, you can order holiday greens through this site, which you can also access by going to the Dickens website. You can get to the Dickens website by going to the church website and clicking the link. And you can also get there directly. I think it's dickensfestival.weebly.com, perhaps. Anyway, Alicia, next slide, please. So we're starting to ramp up the planning for our final Dickens celebration. I don't know if y'all catch this, but yesterday would have been the Dickens Festival if we had gone ahead with our usual plans. So we would have all been like, crazy, tired, and, strung out today, but we're lots of energy. So we're planning our final celebration for Saturday, December 18th from 3 to 5 p.m. on Zoom. Sandra and Kelly are coordinating the effort to enlist performers who are willing to summon their creativity to create a video recorded performance, which can be a craft that you like to do for the holidays, or music or art. And you can also do something live during the show that day. But let us know. Contact Sandra, and if you have a video submission, you can submit that directly to Kelly. And is there anything else that I forgot, people who are involved? Kelly, Sandra? We're good. Okay, we look forward to putting together a real cool show, and we're looking at for videos, maybe no longer than 5 to 7 minutes. So that's what we're hoping for. But be in touch with them. Kelly.
Mary, is the email address to submit the videos on the website?
No, but it will be in Monday's email. We can put your email if you want in the chat right now. Would that be? And we were saying you can email your video, or you can drop it into a Drive site, or you can email the link to Kelly, who will then work some magic on it, or not, depending on how much magic is needed. Okay, I think that's it from there.
Thank you, Mary. And you were right. The website to access the Dickens Festival is dickensfestival.weebly.com. And in closing, thank you for being with us this morning. We hope you will stay for our virtual coffee hour coming up next.